Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United versus Bournemouth away preview, and I've got one word to start with: complacency. Complacency must not be allowed to slip into the fan base, the players or the club this weekend. I genuinely think if we were to lose against Bournemouth, the pressure on Ten Hag would be immense, and you may even get to a point where you'd actually consider sacking him to bring an interim in so you can start working on your new manager. So it's a massive game for Manchester United. We still can hold on to 6th place. By the time we've played this game, Newcastle play at lunchtime, we might be down to 7th. We've got to kick into gear. I feel that there is this drifting feeling towards Manchester United at the moment. We need to get some life back into the team. We've got an FA Cup semi-final. We could finish the season with an FA Cup final. And that, to me, would be salvaging something from the shipwreck that has been this season. We don't want to be driftwood. We want to be something else would. And you can get that in the comments. I don't know. I haven't thought it through. But massive game against Bournemouth. And it's really interesting because away from home this season, we're actually 6th in the league like we are in the Premier League. We've won 7, we've drawn 2 and we've lost 7. Averaging 1.44 points per game away from home, which isn't actually that bad when you compare ourselves to the likes of Tottenham, 1.6, Aston Villa, 1.5. We've done all right away from home. I mean, obviously, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, they're averaging in above the 2 points per game away from home, but we're not at that level. So we've not done too bad away from home. Similarly, Bournemouth at home are averaging 1.44 as well. So interestingly, it's a match of two teams. There might not be lots of goals in this as well. Bournemouth aren't really like a Brentford who concede a lot of goals at home. Their record at home this season is 1-6, drawn 5, lost 5, conceding 24 goals. They've conceded less goals at home this season than Chelsea, and certainly a lot less than Brentford have conceded. So we played them away, of course, not too long ago. So I think this game is about being on the front foot. It's about mentality. One thing I would say about Bournemouth this season, they changed their manager at the end of last year. I thought Gary O'Neill had done a very good job. They made a brave decision changing their manager. It looked a bad decision at the start of the season when Wolves under Gary O'Neill did well and Bournemouth was struggling. But with time, their new system, their new manager, their new approach has actually done okay. They're not in a relegation battle, not by a very, very long way. And that was the key for Bournemouth this season. They are the sort of team that you catch them on a bad day, you can beat them. But if you catch them on a good day, they will beat you. They beat us at Old Trafford. Solanke's had a very good season, but all through that team, they are a team that plays to their manager, and they go sort of unnoticed. The team down on the south coast, only 11,500 the attendance. It's a small, tight ground, Bournemouth, and they could beat us. This is the sort of game, as a United fan this season, it really exemplifies and evidences our season, because I don't know. Get in the comments, what do you think about this game? If you're going for a comfortable United away win, I'll have a pint of what you're having. If you're going for United are going to get turned over, I think it can happen. Of course it can. We need to win, really, regardless of where you are on the manager, Ineos, Rashford, Bruno, whatever the controversial, divisive topics are, it matters not. Nobody wants to be playing in the Conference League next year. We don't want to be in the Europa League, but we've been in the Europa League. We've played in 2 Europa League semi-finals. We've played in 2 Europa League semi-finals. We've played in 2 finals. We've won one of them. The Europa League's embarrassing, but we're way past all that. The Emmerdale jokes, Thursday night football, all that. We're way past that. It's probably where we are. So the Europa League next year I can live with. The Conference League is embarrassing, and that could be Nagelsmann, it could be Southgate, it could be Ten Hag. Whoever it is, nobody wants to play Conference League football, and that is what we're playing for now. And I would implore these players to switch on. This weird blame-shifting mentality must stop, because if you are successful in getting rid of another manager, well done, you're playing in the Conference League. How does that benefit you? Bottom line, get into that Europa League, solidify that position, get in the Europa League and give yourself at least a little bit of a platform next year, because you'll be playing in it and we will be watching it. So how do we beat Bournemouth? Well, I think that, and also don't forget, I'm going to be talking about why Ten Hag could lose his job. I will come back to that. But I think in relation to Bournemouth, they are an energetic team. They are a team that can score goals. And I look at United and I look at the style of play. It will be basketball. It will be one end to the other. And if we don't retain the ball well and use it well, then this is a very precarious game, because they will attack and they can score goals, and it could be 4-3. It could be 3-3. It's one of those games where there could be a lot of goals in it, and we've got to be switched on, and we've got to imprint, and this is the big takeaway from me from this preview. We will be paying in excess of around £200 million a week for the team that we put out on Saturday evening. Bournemouth won't be paying more than 200 or 300 grand a week for the whole team. You know, quick maths, our players are going to be on at least 5-6 times more as a team. We need to show that. I don't know why this doesn't get spoken about. It's not a taboo. Our players, our squad, our starting 11 will be on ridiculous money compared to Bournemouth, and yet Bournemouth may well match us, beat us for passion, desire and talent. That cannot be happening. What are we paying for? Forget managers. Ineos should be looking at that. What are we paying for? Get players on the pitch and get them to earn their money. And this game should be a breeze. But it won't be, because we will have to be on it. We've had a week off as well. We can't be tired. Bournemouth have had a week off, that's fine. But we've had a week off as well. We've got the better players. We've got the better talent. They're going to have a go. Of course they are. They'll sense blood. Probably the first time in their history they've beaten Man United home and away. They beat us at Old Trafford. We've got to go and lay a few punches in this game, and we've got to be clinical. And I think the key is try and create chances for Rasmus. Like, he's had 1 shot in 3 games. Try and create chances for your striker. Just try it. You might like it. It might work. I know Rasmus will. I've gone with my 11 there. This is injury dependent, but I think that we have to impart our quality on this game. Chelsea away was difficult. Liverpool at home was difficult. This game will be difficult because of the effort and desire that Bournemouth put in, like Brentford did. We need to learn the mistakes, put that effort in, and then take over with quality. There's a brilliant bit about Jurgen Klopp I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, where he wants his players to run harder, fight harder, and be fitter than the opposition, because once you've won that battle, the quality will just take over. And that's what we need to do. We need to run harder, fight harder, and be fitter than Bournemouth, and then the quality will kick in. And that's what we need in this game. So look, Camboire probably will start with Maguire. I don't have a massive problem with it. But if Varane is fit, then he has to start. It's a quality thing we need to win. So that's the only change I think in the back four that might happen if Varane is fit. I don't know where he is. Onana, Maguire. Maguire played well. Wan-Bissaka, Dalot. Yeah, they've got to all play. We haven't got a left back. Midfield 3, you could make changes. However, McTominay's out for 3 weeks. Eriksen's not an option in a game like this. Mount, I would like to see play, but I don't think you can play Mount, Bruno and Mainu, or Mount, Bruno and Casemiro. And of course, Amrabat, he just doesn't rate him. So I think you've got to go. At least start with Casemiro, Mainu and Bruno. If it's not working, I would consider putting Mainu holding midfielder and bringing Mount on. And I don't like that, but Casemiro was so slow in the Chelsea and Liverpool games, you'd have to make that change. We can't just be run through. We need energy in that midfield 3. And if you have to bring Mount in there, you have to bring him in there. But it's the front 3 where I think we have to make a big decision. Rashford has to be on the bench. We've had a week off from football. He started against Liverpool. He didn't start against Chelsea. Anthony did very, very well. Rashford came on, didn't do very well. Anthony was on the bench against Liverpool. Rashford started. He didn't do very well. We've had a week off. There's absolutely no excuse. It has to be Garnacho on the left, Anthony on the right, and Rasmus down the middle. And if it's not good for Ten Hag, because this is nothing to do with brand or performance or wage or anything like that. No agenda. Over the last 2 games, Anthony deserves to start on the right. We're better with Garnacho on the left. And obviously Rasmus plays down the middle. And I actually think that if we start with that front 3, the travelling fans, the watching fans, the players will be in a better space. Because the thing about Rashford is, the players like Rashford, most of the fans like Rashford, but everybody can see it, and it damages them as well. We can all see that Rashford's not in that space. And when you're playing in a team and you've got a player that you know's not in the right space, it can make your confidence levels drop. I think Rashford's better from the bench. For now, I think he's better from the bench. I think his way back into the team is to come off the bench and do something. I think we're past the point of starting him and hoping he's going to do something. You start Anthony, you start Garnacho. We know their levels, their energy, their effort is there. If they're having a bad game, you take them off and you give Rashford a go, or Ahmad a go. But that front 3 is key to me. And I also think with Garnacho on the left, he's more creative on the left than Rashford. And we need to be creative with our striker. So that's how I would line up. Score prediction wise, and I must just say Mount's knocking on the door here. Score prediction wise, I actually think we're looking at a draw. Probably a high scoring draw. I think I'd go 2-2. I don't feel at the moment that we've got a win in us in a game like this. I don't. I think that we're struggling. We are struggling for identity. We're struggling to survive. There's all sorts of stories, which is why Ten Hag's got to pick a team that's got as much grit and talent in it as he can. You put Rashford in, you know, he's not playing well. Is he going to put the shift in? We don't know. You put McTominay in, I know he's injured, he'll put the shift in, but is he going to put the talent in? I think you've got to put as much grit and talent in there as you can. And that's why, for me, you know, it's worth putting Bruno in there. It's worth putting Casemiro in there. I know they've not been great, but these are two players that leadership's important when you're reliant on Mainu, Anthony, Garnacho and Højlund. You need that bit of experience there. And you can make changes. You know, Rashford would be on the bench. Mount would be on the bench. Eriksen's on the bench. Amrabat's on the bench. But that's the team, for me, that I would start with. Let me know your thoughts on that. 2-2 is my prediction. Yeah, look, we'll probably lose 6th place for a bit, but we've got other winnable games to come at home. We've got Burnley to come, Sheffield United to come. A point on the road against Bournemouth might not be a bad thing. I don't think it's a must-win game. I think it's a must-not-lose game. The ramifications if we lose this game, talking about the manager, and I spoke about this more in depth on the podcast. Check out Goldbridge Saves Football. I think it's out at 5 o'clock today on That's Football YouTube channel and on Spotify. I talk about it in more depth, but look, is there a chance that this is Ten Hag's last game? If we lose against Bournemouth, how many losses is that this season? 13, 14? That's significant, but the problem is you lose to Liverpool, which we haven't this season, by the way. Amazingly, we've knocked Liverpool out the FA Cup and we've drawn with them twice. Amazingly, we beat Aston Villa twice. So for every bad stat, there's a good stat. We're 6th place. I personally feel whoever finishes 6th this year can say it was a bad year, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And that could be Newcastle, United, Chelsea, whoever. I think 6th place is not good, but it's not horrific. And we could do that. So for every bad stat, we could still finish 6th. For everybody who says style of play, there are only 2 options. You go to Bournemouth and park the bus, or you go to Bournemouth and you play basketball, to me, to you. Chuckle vision football. There is no other option with these players. There is no other option with this injury crisis. Anybody else demanding a different style of football is foolish. So take your choice. Park the bus and counter, or go for it and leave yourself open a bit. I'd rather go for it. I know it's stressful, but it's entertaining. I'd rather do that. At least it's something Ten Hag wants to do if he's given the time and the players to do it. So I would do that. But if you lose the game and you play open and you lose the game badly and the players drop their head and you get beat 2, 3, dare I say 4, then I think the pile-on is even something I'm going to struggle to defend. It would take strong ownership if we lost to Bournemouth badly to say we're pinning this on the structure, a horrific season for injuries, the takeover, certain players who've been here for years sacking managers. We're going to ignore the losses and we're going to stick with this manager. It'd be very brave, and I'd stand by it if they did that, but it's probably not very likely. If you lose this game to Bournemouth, you could wander into next week with the decision made. And if the decision is made, and I go into this more in depth on the podcast, but if the decision is made after a loss to Bournemouth that we're going to change the manager, then I would say lead from the front. Lead from the front and do it now. Mourinho was sacked the week before a Carabao Cup final. People would say you can't sack him before an FA Cup semi-final. You can. You've got to think what's best for Manchester United. And if we got our arse smacked against Bournemouth and you sacked Ten Hag on Monday, you've just given yourself half of April and all of May to interview people. If you make your decision that you're sacking Ten Hag after Bournemouth but you're not going to do it till the end of May, forget interviewing Nagelsmann. He'll be too busy with Germany. Southgate, I'd like to forget completely, but he'd be well into the England thing. If you're going to make a change to the manager and Bournemouth makes your mind up because of a loss, in my opinion, I wouldn't sack him anyway, but if I was Ineos and I've made my mind up, I'd sack him. Because you've given yourself time to start interviewing people. I mean, God forbid, we would never do it, but why couldn't you interview Amorim? You know, why couldn't you interview Emery? You know, you couldn't interview Emery probably, but you know what I mean. 6 weeks before the end of the season, you've just given yourself 6 weeks to actually interview some people. Look, my point is, if Ineos are going to sack Ten Hag anyway, I'd rather they did it now and went for Nagelsmann than wait till the end of the season and got Southgate. That's all I'm saying. more in depth in the podcast, but that's what I'm saying. I don't want it to happen. It shouldn't happen. But if we did lose to Bournemouth and they went, that's decision made, give yourself time to start interviewing better candidates, because you can't do it at the end of May. I hope it doesn't come to that. I really don't. I put most of the problems this season down to players, injuries, takeover, lack of structure, teams that have moved ahead of us quickly. And it's happened to us twice in the last 10 years. Mourinho finished second. He demanded a better summer. We didn't do it. And then everybody behind us had a better summer. They passed us and Mourinho lost his job. Last year, we finished third. We didn't build on the momentum of it. We had a major injury crisis and we fell back. And other teams like Spurs and Villa and Liverpool have moved past us. That's the reason for me. But the solution has to be lead from the front with strong leadership. And if I was a player, and this is worth saying as well, and I don't think anybody's ever said it, if I'm Kobe Mainoo, or I'm Garnacho, or I'm Rasmus, or I'm Delo, or I'm Onana, or I'm Mason Mount, those 6 players will probably all start the game on Saturday. 6 players. Onana, Delo, Mount, Rasmus, Mainoo, Garnacho. 6 players. 6 players most of us like. 6 players that we all probably agree we've got to build the team around. 6 Ten Hag players. You don't put your shift in on Saturday and get a result. The new manager, he might not want Rasmus up front. He might not want Garnacho on the wing. He might bring a load of midfielders in and put Mainoo on the bench. You know, he might not fancy Delo at right back. He might not fancy Mount. You know, this set of players that are Ten Hag players have got to deliver on Saturday, because the grass ain't greener under another manager. This manager's championed you. Time to deliver. I believe they can. On top of that, Bruno, you're his captain. Do you not, you know, it might be in your interest as well. Look, Maguire, Casemiro, who knows what the future's going to be. And I'm not saying they're not going to put the effort in, because I think they will. Same with Varane. But there's certain players there that it's in their interests to get a performance and keep this manager, because they're part of his vision for the future. Get your comments in below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. Could this be Ten Hag's last game? Can United get a result? Let's not underestimate Bournemouth. And as I said, complacency cannot be allowed to creeping in. We can't lose 6th place. A lot of these players could face an uncertain future if this is to be Ten Hag's last game if we lose badly. This is not the time to be complacent. We do not want to lose Europa League football for Conference League football. And what do you think about the starting lineup? Let me know. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. We're back at 8 o'clock. And don't forget, the podcast is coming up at 5 o'clock on That's Football. You can download it for free. It's free. That's the way we work. I'm going to whack it up on the screen for you now. But it's Goldbridge Saves Football. And it comes out at 5 o'clock on Spotify, 5 o'clock on That's Football YouTube channel. You can listen to it on your way home. You can watch it. It's there for you to scan there. Camera phone. Scan it, give us a follow, and then it will be there for you. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to tune in at 8 o'clock. Take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.